Right, last time we fit the DSC data, the black points here, to a two Gaussian fit. And so we define two Gaussians and then we simply fit. And then what I'm showing here is the two separate Gaussians of our fit. That is in the red curves. And so that's the author's. Blue is the fit that we got. And then the red curves are the author's fit that I just have on here for reference. And so that's what we did last time. And again, the idea here, as you can see, there's quite a big difference between our fit and the author's fit. So, there's even a shift in peak position, but there's quite a bit difference in the relative heights. So what we want to do this time is we're going to go ahead and fit this DSC data again, but we would like to use a peak function that resembles perhaps the crystallization, because right now these are Gaussians, and Gaussians are really not what govern crystallization. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. So the Avrami equation governs crystallization. This Avrami equation from Callister was an S-shaped curve, just showing an example of it here. If I was to take a derivative of this S-shaped curve, I would get this equation here, which is a peak. And so this is my peak function that's related to the Avrami kinetics. All right, and so what I can do is I can normalize this equation so that my peak intensity and my peak position is at 1, and I get this equation. So here it is plotted. You can see the intensity is 1 and the position of my peak is 1. And I'm doing this ultimately because this is the Avrami equation that you get out, but our peak heights and positions are related to our experiment, and so we need to be able to change those. So first I normalize it, and then I take this normalized equation and I'll divide my positions by the peak center, and I'll multiply the whole thing by an amplitude. And so this allows the amplitude and the position of this peak to now be variable. So this is the form of the equation I get, and this is just showing you an example when my amplitude is set to 10 and my peak position was set to mu of 400. And then n in this case is 3.1, which is consistent with some of the fits that we're getting from the paper. All right, so that's just to show that we do indeed get a peak function, but the shape of this function is no longer Gaussian, but it follows this equation here, which has again some physical significance in that we derived it based on Avrami kinetics. So let's go ahead and see how this does for us. So we're going to repeat what we've done before. We're going to define our peak function, and again that's just what I've showed you here. So here is our peak function. Depends on the amplitude, the mean of where the peak is, our Avrami n value, and well, that's it. So here's the function written out, and then once I have that, the rest of this is what we've already done previously. So I'm going to use two Avrami peaks, so I'm going to call this twice. My model is then going to be the sum of these two. We'll distinguish between them by making each of our parameters here, a, mu, and n, have a prefix of AV1 or AV2. Okay, so that way when we define our parameters, which we have to do in the model, that's this step here, I can specifically come in and do AV1A, mu, and n, and define those, and also for the peak 2. And so this is the values that I chose to use. I also put in some min-max values just kind of for fun, but I don't think we actually need these. We could take these out and just use some starting values. But anyway, that's how I initialize. Remember, these are just initial values. I initialize them. And then I'm going to call my calibrated DSC data. Those are the points we've been fitting all along. And then I'll go ahead and call my model, and I'll fit it. And I'm going to pass it the data. Okay. It's going to call the parameters that we just defined, and then my x positions again, are just defined here by my original data set. I'm going to use the components, the comps, again, by the eval components command, and that will separate out my two models, my AV1 and my AV2 models. And then we'll just go ahead and plot it. So we'll plot the data in blue. We're going to plot the overall, the best fit, which is the sum of the two peak equations. That'll be red. And then we're going to take the AV1, which is peak 1 solution, plot that as black. Take the peak 2 solution, plot that as green, and we'll show a legend. So let's go ahead and run it, and there we go. So you can see this is quite a good fit. We're fitting everywhere in here on this red curve, and we almost get all of these points. I guess we got these three, these two here are a bit off, but this is really a good fit, much better than the authors and much better than our other Gaussian fit. And so it looks like doing this Avrami peak equation is really the way to go. All right, so we've got our values. And so since we have our values, we can go ahead and use those to plot our peaks again. And we're redoing that here just so I can show you, because this plot here is using the data that's built into the result model. But the way we really like to do it is we like to plot these curves based on the parameters A, mu, and n that we actually found from the fit. And so that's what we're doing here. We're just saying that our fit to P1, I'm just going to call my Avrami function, right? We'll put in x values for it, and then we have to give it the amplitude, the mean position, and the n value. So those we got from our fit. So that's there for the peak 1, and it's here for peak 2. So those values go directly in, and then we can just sum the two, and then we'll go ahead and just plot them. So there they are. And you can see the result is exactly what we had before, but now I have a way of plotting them based again on the fit values. So finally, we've got kind of everything we need. So let me just kind of review, and then we'll take a look at the final result here. So we have calibrated data from our original figure way back. So this was the data that was given to us from the instrument. This is what it measured. We also took the author's P1 and P2 values, which were plotted in the paper, and we pulled points off so we could reproduce those as well. Then we went and we fit the P1 and the P2, so this data here, P1 and P2, to a Gaussian so we could get back the equation the authors used because they didn't give it. We summed these two to get the overall fit. We also went and fit the DSC data to our own Gaussian functions to see what we would get, and that's defined by these parameters here. So we have fit P1 and P2 on our overall fit. And then finally, we did the overall fit again, except now we use our Avrami function. And now we've got, again, two peaks, but they're governed by the Avrami equation. All right, so what we want to do, we want to compare the author's fit to the DSC, our Gaussian fit to the DSC, and then finally our Avrami fit to the DSC. So we're going to go ahead and just plot all of this together, and along with the P1 and P2 from the authors, our P1 and P2 from the Gauss, our P1 and P2 from the Avrami. And so that's what we got here. All right, so you can look through this, but there's the author fits. This is our Gauss fits. This is our Avrami fits that we just did. Okay, and I'm using some nice colors so you can look through some of those. But this is just all plotting. I'm not calculating anything. And so hopefully what you can see is the points on here are the data that was given. If you kind of look closely down in this region, you could see that the solid blue line is doing a much better job down here than the pink or the green line, which are over there. And you could see, if you follow the points up here, that the blue and the green seem to do a pretty good job at following the points, especially down in this region. You can see the pink is not doing a very good job in most of the regions. It's actually doing a pretty poor job. So the pink is actually the author's fit. So that's not very good. Even our Gauss fit, which is the green, is doing a much better job. And so that just means that their, I don't know what kind of fitting routine they use, but their Gaussian fitting routine was not good. And then if we use the Avrami fit, so now we've got a peak function that's based on some, has some physical basis, not just a random Gaussian fit. We get the dark blue curve, which does really an excellent job all the way down here, even in this part of the data. If we take a look at how the peaks turn out, the pink one here are the P1 and P2 from the authors, and notice that the ratio of their heights, these are fairly close to each other, so maybe this is 3/4 of the height of this one. And then the green is our Gaussian fit. You can see now the ratio has considerably changed. And then blue, which is the best fit, the Avrami fit, you can see now the height for those have substantially changed from the authors. And so these peak heights in the areas under there tell us something about the amount of crystallization that happens for the two peaks. So you can see the conclusions the authors would have would be very much different than what you would get for the blue. They would way overestimate the amount of P1. Okay, so that's a big deal. The other issue is that when you now take these P1 and P2 peaks, they usually try and pull out some Avrami kinetics out of them. Well, Avrami kinetics for Gaussian is completely off. The shape is all wrong, and so they're getting some n values that don't make sense really at all, versus what we get here for the blue curves, which we can analyze and actually come out with some kinetic values. So a lot of things wrong with that paper, and this was just showing all of that, just looking at that tail region, the beginning part. And you could see here the points that were not quite fitting still, but pretty good. And you could see how far off and how the shape is much different in the Gaussian fits as compared to the Avrami fits. All right, well, that is about all for that problem.